presentation. So I'd like to call Andy Stallman with IPS Solar. Andy?
All right, thank you. So there we go, presentation. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This will be a little bit different than the solar presentation that was given a few months ago. Today we're going to focus more on the solar gardens, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. They've been popping up all around St. Cloud. So we'll fly through this. If you do have questions, please raise your hand or put a question in the chat and we'll get to that in the end. So next slide, Laura. Can we go to the next slide? Perfect. Okay, so a little bit about us. We have been around since 1991. 2 years ago, we were ranked the fastest growing private company in Minneapolis and St. Paul. At this point, we have done about 140 megawatts. What that means, just from the outside, for comparison, back in 2012, the entire state had 7 megawatts. So it is snowballing at this point. And like I said, I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of projects popping up around your houses. Next slide. So we started with residential work. We then have done a ton of commercial work and have really grown because of the community solar program. And today we'll touch on just the commercial and the community solar portions. Next slide. So again, we'll kind of just compare these so you guys really understand what's going on with these community solar projects. So on the left is the traditional offering. This is where you have solar power on site. You are actually powering your buildings with solar. There can be an upfront cost or you can finance this through someone else. But we're typically installing on a roof or land near your building. And there are regulations to how much we can put on your building, but typically we work with utilities to make sure we're not producing a lot more than what you consume. On the right is kind of the newer offer. This is where you're able to offset your energy with community solar. There's no upfront cost. The savings are guaranteed for all 25 years. You don't need anything on site. And you're able to sign up for 120% of your annual energy usage. So next slide. We have 4 quick examples of traditional rooftop systems. These are obviously ideal situations, but what we're getting into, the community solar, is we're realizing that not everybody has this opportunity, and it could be because you don't have a large flat roof like this one or the next slide. Together, these are offsetting 15% of the light rail between Minneapolis and St. Paul. So if you go to the next slide. Thank you. So these have been able to offset about 50% of the power usage for each of these respective buildings. On the next slide, you'll see a very large system. So this is 800 kilowatts. It's worth the equivalent of about 6 acres of land to install this system. And this will offset 33% of this manufacturing facility's energy usage. In the next slide. What people are doing to remedy the situation when they have a smaller roof, these 2 breweries, their solar systems respectively will offset about 20% of their brewing operations. So what they've done is they've installed as much solar as we can fit on their rooftops, and then they subscribe to our community solar gardens for the remainder of their energy. So on the next slide, we jump into that community solar portion. This is a program that at this point only exists within Xcel Energy. And the idea was that they wanted to provide an opportunity for people who either didn't have the means to a roof, the financial means to install solar, or just didn't want it on their property. So this program, we as a developer construct projects somewhere out on a farm field. It also could be on a rooftop. It could be in a parking lot. We build solar. We connect these directly to Xcel's grid, so they are officially solar powered. They then, instead of just paying us for the energy, that's where the subscriber comes in. So this is anyone who's an Excel customer in the same county as the project or a county that's touching the county where the project is. So they receive a bill credit on their Excel bill, and then they pay us for that energy. And there's a guaranteed savings between what that credit is worth for the subscriber and what they pay for it. Next slide. Just a couple quick examples. You can click through these, Laura, just to show you what these look like. These are 5 megawatt gardens. You've probably seen our projects on both the north and the south side of 94 near St. Joseph. As far as these projects go, though, you can go to the pollinator slide. These are sustainable projects. So a lot of people are worried about what they look like and what they're doing to the farmland. So two things to touch on. Number one, these systems are completely removable. You can see in the background, these are basically an I-beam that's driven into the ground, all of which will be removed after the project's lifespan of 25 years. Number two, we are putting in pollinator plants on all of our projects, and most other developers are as well. These are to support bees and butterflies. It's low growing. It's fantastic for erosion control. I have 2 sites where we reduced the erosion from 20 tons down to 1 ton from when he was planting corn versus harvesting solar energy. So additionally, these pollinator plants are being used for apiaries on several sites, even in St. Joseph. That honey is then being used into beers and ciders all across the state. So it's been a very cool program for promoting solar energy. Next slide. So you can kind of see where we've done this, about 140 megawatts in total. All of the new projects that you see popping up are 1 megawatt each. Next slide. We can go past this, but at this point, we're helping about 500 different buildings offset their energy with solar usage. Closest near St. Cloud would be the entire St. Cloud School District. Next slide. All right, so this is the final one. Again, this is picture yourself as the subscriber. You're able to sign up for 120% of what you use each year. Keep in mind, this is an actual energy. These are coupons, right? You're getting a credit for 9.7 cents and you only pay 9 cents for it. So you would do that as many times as you could in theory. So Excel said that you can only sign up for 120% of what you use. So in this case, the subscription would be worth 1 million kilowatt hours. When you save 0.7 of a penny 1 million times, your company could save $7,000 annually. So some companies we worked with have signed up for tens of millions of kilowatt hours. Other companies might only use 50,000 kilowatt hours each year. But the important thing to know about these projects is the savings are guaranteed. There are no upfront costs, and it's a way that you can support solar without ever investing in it. So with that said, I hope this has been a nice short summary about why you see these pop up all over town. Hopefully you're able to tolerate the quote unquote eyesore of these. I know some people don't love them, but they are doing a lot of good for the community, both from an energy production standpoint as well as a sustainability standpoint. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
Please raise your hand in the system if you do have a question.
So Liz Kellner. Liz Kellner.
Liz Kellner?
I've got a question. How do you determine the land that you're going to put the solar gardens on? Is there certain criteria, or do you have to purchase it from someone? Or how does that happen?
Sure, we lease land. We lease land that is somewhat near a substation, so typically within 2 miles. The land needs to be in Excel energy territory and have capacity on the power lines. So one of the great things about this is we are building essentially mobile power plants all around the state near areas where Xcel needs load. So it's modernizing their grid and making it easier. We lease land, and typical land rates for the lease are $1,000 per acre per year, and then it escalates from there. So it's a really good deal for the landowners as well.
Thank you.
We have time. Oh, we have time for a couple more questions, so please raise your hand. No more questions? All right, with that, Andy, I'd like to say thank you for your informative presentation, and we will move on to the speaker presentation. At this time, I'll call it Maddie Zinkin with Pathways for Youth.
Hi, everybody. I do apologize. My camera decided to not work this week, so you do not get to see me, unfortunately. However, you do get to see a beautiful bright orange PowerPoint. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Can skip to the next slide here. I want to touch on first about what homelessness for our youth that we serve looks like here in St. Cloud. And at Pathways, we see three main types of homelessness with the youth we serve. This first one being sleeping in your car. This can be from staying in the Walmart parking lot to staying in an apartment building parking lot. And this photo is from our Now That You Know event, which took place October of 2019, where we as volunteers and staff put together a car that shows what this could look like for our youth sleeping outside. So in there you can see they have like a little cooler, a water jug, coats, blankets, pillows in the back, laundry bags, different things like that to become a living area for them. We've also had youth who have microwaves in their vehicles and plug into various buildings within our community to heat something up for 60 seconds or to make a quick meal in the comfort of their home or car. So this is one example. The next one on the next slide shows the most common that we see, which is couch hopping. A lot of our youth do not see this as a type of homelessness. However, it is not a stable living arrangement, meaning they can't stay there for long periods of time, or they're just going from one place to the next just to get by. So in this photo, you can see volunteer Kristen, who has been a long-term volunteer with us here at Pathways, who helped us put together this in taking points from what our youth have experienced when they do couch hop. This next one, which is the most, what people mostly think of when they think of homelessness, and that's staying outside in encampments. This photo is actually taken in St. Cloud on a beautiful sunny day like it is today. However, I want everybody to imagine the Minnesota winters and what that could look like when it's -60 below with wind chill, or not being able to have a tent or a tarp over your head. And I know a couple of our youth who have slept outside say a tent is a luxury. Sometimes they don't have that. So this is an example from right in our community. So with those three main types of homelessness, on the next slide, we as Pathways come in and we are trying to help youth in our area between ages 16 through 24 who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness accomplish their goals and access resources at our youth center. So here at Pathways, we are not a shelter. Youth do not stay overnight here. However, we do get them access to resources to find stable housing, find stable jobs, and keep them up to date on their goals. So it does look a little different from a shelter. However, we go more in depth with the youth coming in to ensure that they are on their path to success, whatever that may look like. So if they would like to keep a job and they want to save enough money to have a down deposit on an apartment, we are going to help them get there. So on the next slide, these are some things that we offer on site. And granted, this is pre-COVID, and I'll talk about post-COVID or current COVID practices that we are doing in a couple slides. However, on site, we do have a laundry and shower facility that is free laundry, which is super nice if they don't want to carry around quarters, which most of them do not. We also have access on site currently with a clothing closet and food pantry. We do offer a phone on site, and we can be a mailing address if they are applying for jobs It is a requirement to put down an address for the first check to be mailed to or different things like that, which is something that most people don't really think about because they have a mailing address. Our youth do not. So they can write down the Pathways address and have their mail sent here and have access to that. Also, we have done free meals Monday through Thursday for a dinner. We also offer case management, medical services through connections with Center Care, and different things like that. So we are really a one-stop shop for youth in our area, and we want to serve them as best as we can and meet them where they're at, where they have their needs to be successful. On the next slide here, you can see the practices that we've implemented since COVID-19. Granted, with our center, we really wanted to work with our youth on social aspects as well. So getting together in groups, meeting others who are experiencing something similar to them, meeting with staff and other resources face-to-face, because that connection really matters. However, COVID really put a nice little spin on the way we've been doing things. And it's really shown us staff and youth how important those connections are. So our case manager, Whitney, has been doing an outstanding job keeping those communications up with our youth via phone, email, FaceTime, Zoom, anything like that, to make sure that they are keeping up to date. We are staying up to date with them. And all of our youth have actually been doing really well, which is outstanding for us to hear. So youth have reported that they're staying indoors with friends or family, so that, again, couch hopping, but more of a long term, or they have individual housing, which is great for them to be staying safe, keeping up those social distancing and different things like that. Any special needs that they are currently experiencing are communicated with Whitney, our case manager, and are met via pickup, which is right outside our center. Again, contactless, so we are making sure we're keeping up social distancing and following those CDC guidelines with wearing gloves, masks, and different things like that, and keeping up with the cleaning. So we've been taking it day by day. Our staff and our board and our team have been doing a great job keeping up to date and moving forward with everything that's been going on. And our youth have been doing really well, which is outstanding to hear for us. So with that, next slide. We are really wanting to get in touch with the community because we hear a lot, how can I help? How can I be a part of the solution? How can I, make sure these youth are on a path to a better tomorrow? And one of those ways of doing that is to donate. $5 goes a long way. And so if you're interested in doing a financial donation or monetary donation, that is on our website, or you can send us an email and we will get you in touch with somebody to send in anything. But anything helps. We're here to serve our youth, and we want you to be a part of that as well. The next slide shows, I think, also one of the most important aspects for our community is to be an advocate and to understand what homelessness actually looks like. It's one thing to have a stereotype or a biased understanding of what homelessness could be, but to be educated on it and to share positive remarks and to help other people is really what being an advocate is all about. So educating yourself and being a part of organizations that serve those who are experiencing homelessness is very important. And I highly recommend everybody be a part of that in some way, shape, or form. And with that, I think my next slide says questions.
This is Lisa, Maddie. I don't have a question, but I've been working over at Rivers Edge Convention Center for about the last 2 months, and you have a wonderful display over there. And I'm just so sad that people aren't there to be able to see it. So I don't know if there's plans to move it around in the community.
Yeah, good question. So we are kind of looking at different ways to get out in the community with everything that's been going on. And that has been really at the creative mind of our board of directors with Tim Wensman and John Bodette, who is actually on this call here. So maybe what I'll go ahead and do is turn that question over to John. I think he's still on, to see if there's anything that special that they are planning at this time.
Not at this point, Lisa, because we can't we can't take it anywhere or be open. It has really been a challenge, and I give a big shout out to our staff to be able to adjust to the fact that we can't have the kind of face-to-face contact with our youth, encouraging them for jobs or especially career employment. A lot of the youth have lost their jobs, and we're trying to help them in any way. There was a remarkable story a couple days ago about how youth and others have come in to the shelter literally desperate. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit more, Maddie, about the two situations just briefly.
Yeah, so on Tuesday this week, we were open our normal like contactless pickup times, and we actually had one youth came in who is staying outside at this moment and was very paranoid in regards to COVID and didn't want to stay in the shelters because they were afraid of getting it and different things that going on in their lives. But however, us staff and our volunteer Karen at Pathways that day were able to get them set up with new clothes, new shoes, some food items, and really make sure that they were comfortable. So they are now getting in contact with our case manager, Whitney, to get them into a hotel room and make sure that they are housed during this time and keep them in a separate space. And then we had another 2 youth come in who had a house fire recently and had nothing left. And they were staying with friends, which is good. However, they had no clothes, no shoes, nothing like that. So we were able to get them a new pair of shoes, new pants, new shirt. It was raining on Tuesday, so we were able to hand out some rain jackets and different things like that. So it's those little moments that really make what we do worth it, because you can see the youth come in and be really sad and just not know what they want, what they can do, and no one to turn to help them. And we were here to help them with that. And that was really rewarding to see the change of just a couple of minutes.
Great,
Maddie,
thank you, Matt. Whoops.
I was wondering how those kids found out about it, Maddie. How did they know where to go for help?
Good question. So we mainly see youth spread like about organizations or nonprofits in our area via word of mouth. We also have an outstanding outreach worker, Jennifer, who works through Catholic Charities, and she goes out to the different encampments or works with these youth out in the community to get them in touch with different resources within. So that could be going to emergency services with Catholic Charities, that could be coming to Pathways. Whatever needs that they have, she helps them find the best resource to fit that need. Also, radio spots have been outstanding because I know a lot of youth tune into the radio when they can. Social media is also the now big thing with them as well. So we're just trying to keep everything as up to date as possible and make sure that we're constantly spreading the word about what we do and what we can offer, so that way we can continually have more youth coming in to access those resources.
All right, thank you, Maddie and Pathways for Youth, for all that you do for our youth in the community. Brenda, do you want to move to the update?
Yeah, we're going to do some updates real quick. We're going to have Gail from the chamber come up, and right after that, we're going to go into Aaron from the school district, and then I believe Todd is on from the city of Sauk Rapids. So Gail.
So I followed the rules and I raised my virtual hand and nobody called on me, so I didn't get to ask my question of Pathways for Youth. But I do have some announcements to make. Next week on June 3rd, next Wednesday, is the final lunchtime learning program of the series for this year. And it is about changing your attitude toward conflict. We all know that conflict is really a regular and essential part of getting along and learning how to get along with people. But lately it's probably been kind of flaring and ebbing a little bit more unusually. So we're going to talk about seeing conflict as an opportunity. It is next Wednesday. The Zoom room opens at 11:45. The event goes from 12 to 1. It's only $15. And our speaker is Tammy Moore, who's a business consultant and also works at Layton Interactive. So please join us for that. You do need to register to get the Zoom link in order to participate. Also, Laura is looking at putting together a virtual business after hours for us for June. So keep an eye on that. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we guarantee it's going to be fun. So you won't want to miss it. You'll want to keep an eye out on the newsletters and the emails that you get from us to tell you when that's going to happen. If you have been wanting to host an actual business after hours and you've been reluctant to sign up because you know there's a big long waiting list, I have a deal for you. We actually have 2 openings in 2021. They're going fast because last week we had 3. Today we have 2. They are in July and they aren't, that's the one that's gone. They are in March and August. So if you're interested in hosting a business after hours in 2021, please let Laura know and we will put you on schedule. I'd ask for questions, but
No time.
I'm guessing I wouldn't hear it.
Aaron, are you still on? Do you have an update on the school?
Yes, I am. A couple items I just wanted to share with everyone. We had our graduation this past Tuesday evening, which was an outdoor drive-in graduation. It turned out incredibly well. We were very fortunate. It was definitely an odd environment, but to be honest, there was elements of it that went really well that we actually enjoyed that we might even think about incorporating in the future. So that went well. Also just wanted to let people know the design for the new Pleasant View Elementary continues to come along, and we're hopeful that during the months of June or early July, we'll be able to share out some initial plans with the community for people to take a look at what that planning is looking like. But it's gone fairly well, and COVID hasn't impacted our ability to do that planning. So we've been able to do most of it remotely, which has worked really well. One item I just did want to mention to everyone, because I think it does have an impact for all of you as business owners, has to do with distance learning. We're just wrapping up this school year, but as business owners, I guess I bring forward for you to think about, the school district hasn't received guidance as to what next fall might look like. The guidance we have right now is pretty interesting because it would probably dictate some elements of distance learning still occurring next fall. So we're not quite sure what that looks like. And with distance learning comes impact on families and essentially all of your employees as well. So I just encourage you as we kind of go through the summer months as business owners, continue to follow the educational piece with distance learning, because that will have kind of far-reaching impacts on the burdens families are going to carry as we go into next fall. And I will make sure that information gets passed on as well. And my last item, I just wanted to be able to say thank you to everyone. This is actually my last meeting with the Chamber before I am moving on. Just wanted to thank everyone for partnership, especially the Chamber. They were great partners when our school district put together a business and industry summit, so was very appreciative of that. And also wanted to assure everyone my replacement is named Brad Bergstrom. And Brad has strong ties in his past of working with the business community. And so he and I have already spoken a lot about transitions, and he is very interested in engaging with the Chamber and all of you as local business owners. So I think you'll be very appreciative of Brad and what he brings to the table. So happy to answer questions if anybody has any.
Raise your hand if you have a question. Lisa.
I don't really have a question. I just want to thank the community for the wonderful support for our graduates. It was just so heartwarming after graduation when we did the processional through town, and there were so many people lining the streets and cheering the graduates on. It was wonderful, and they just truly felt special and recognized. So thank you for all of the community support and helping our graduates through a very tough time.
Awesome. And next, if you have any more questions, you can certainly put it in the chat window and we'll try to have Aaron respond to that. And next up, we have Todd with the city. I believe you're still on.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Our park project has broken ground. They started working there earlier this week. So there's a lot of dirt getting piled up and moved around and basically site work right now. That project is going to carry on really throughout the entire summer and well into the fall. River Avenue, which is the road that goes right by the park project on the Mississippi River there, that's going to start on Monday. And so that road will be closed. If you happen to use that at all, you might want to plan for an alternate route. And then also starting up here in the next few days or so, our South Benton Drive project out by Highway 10 is also going to be starting up. At some point, probably not at the beginning, but at some point, that entire road is going to be closed off as well. And so that part of town is going to get difficult to navigate around here for a couple months. So keep an eye out for that. Currently at the city, we're still functioning in the same way that we were before, except for everything is happening virtually. The government center is actually closed down to the public, but up until now, we've actually been able to get by fairly well. And in fact, I think we've been closed. It's been well over a month now. I haven't received one complaint. So we're still facilitating things in the same way that we were before. Things are still getting done, just in a little bit different way. And then just lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about our business community and some of the things that we've been doing lately. This past Tuesday, we adopted an ordinance. We had kind of anticipated that when the state finally kind of let restaurants and bars loose a little bit, that it probably wasn't going to be at the full capacity that they were used to. And so we passed an ordinance, or we had actually prepared an ordinance, passed it on Tuesday, that allowed restaurants and bars to expand into parking lots, as well as into our sidewalk space, and in some cases actually into public streets, so they can add additional tables. And I think in a lot of cases, probably tents we're gonna see get popped up here in the next few days or so. And those actually extend beyond bars and restaurants. Those abilities, retail stores or other stores would also have the ability to expand into parking areas and potentially into public spaces as well. In addition to that, we've also waived our liquor license fees for this coming year, so that that burden will be gone for folks who sell liquor. And then lastly, our HRA board is going to be considering a $5,000 grant that can be used by businesses that have been directly affected negatively by the COVID-19 pandemic, where they can apply for reimbursements for things that they've had to purchase as a result of the coronavirus. So I'll entertain any questions that anybody might have.
Gail, you have a question.
When do you think you're going to be opening the building to groups again?
We talked about that at our last council meeting on Tuesday. There's a possibility that we might do it in a couple weeks. Right now, I think we're going to kind of wait and see what happens really in the next probably 10 days or so before we make that decision.
Sarah has her hand raised.
Hi, Todd. Just curious if you anticipate needing to purchase a permit to use the dump at all this year?
You know what? We do have a process that we do have in place right now for accessing the dump, and I apologize, I don't know it. They did adopt some kind of unique standards for that. If you would like, I can give you a call or shoot you an email here afterwards and kind of let you know what that protocol is going to be.
Sure, that would be great.
Looks like Katrina has a question as well.
Do you have any information on the road construction that's happening on Summit near where the new roundabout is? Because I thought everything was done, but all of a sudden there's like more work going on right there.
I wasn't aware of what that is, but or that they had started doing that. But what that would be is just about any time you do a road project in a city, they put down what's called the wear course of tar or bituminous first, and then you come back the second year and you put another layer on. Essentially, you want to let that first layer kind of work through a year of frost and cold weather, and then things will settle. And then when you come back on in the next year and you put another layer on, then it tends to last a lot longer. So I'm guessing what they're doing is they're putting that next layer down. That usually is a really, really simple, quick process. So whatever impact they're having there in traffic, it should be done in the next couple, 3-4 days.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you for all the announcements, or updates, I should say. We'll now move to announcements and testimonials. So get ready to raise your hand, because we'll take the first 4 people that raise their hand, starting with Sarah.
Yes. I just have a quick shout out testimonial for Liz Kellner and her husband Jay at Odor Eliminators. We're getting ready to list our house, and Jay came over and cleaned the entirety of our carpets in less than 2 hours. He and his son-in-law, I should say, and it was honestly so affordable, and they did a really great job. So thank you very much. Our house is looking in tip-top shape.
Denny Smith.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're putting together a series of live seminars. We're not going to have to just do Zoom. We're working with the Holiday Inn. The first one is going to be on the 24th of June, and we'll have at least 10 people per session, more if the current legislation would permit that. But really looking forward to having people involved in a live seminar. It's going to be entitled "Keeping Yourself Positive During Challenging Times," which is not a new topic. I've been talking on that for 45 years, but really a timely thing right now. You'll learn a lot about how to keep yourself positive and upbeat even during tough times. So I'll look forward to getting the information out on that.
Nikki Holthouse?
I just have a shout out to Bernie. We're on a legislative call this morning, and she just makes it very fun with some very difficult topics. So you're awesome, Bernie.
Just to clarify, I'm assuming that's Bernie Perryman.
Yes.
Okay.
Bernie with an E. Roxanne, Ryan, you'll be the last.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I have a couple of things. One is a shout out to Liz. As soon as we had put out a call on Facebook that we were looking for masks, Liz donated, I think, Liz, was it 50 masks that you donated a while back? So thank you for always being such a good community partner for so many of us. And then we also have a couple of open positions that we are looking to fill for direct support professionals. So if you know anybody who's lost their job, looking to change, want something fulfilling, great organization, great company. They've done a fabulous job taking care of all of us throughout this pandemic, and I can't speak highly enough. So if you know anybody looking for a job, they can go to our website and apply online.
Great. So we'll move into door prizes.